Welcome to the Social Media Show with Philip Calvert. Social media news, views and tips to help you win more customers and increase sales.
Well, hello again and a very warm welcome to the Social Media Show with me, Philip Calvert. This is the show where we look at what's hot in the world of social media, but really through the lens of one of our social media warriors. These are people who use social media and content marketing every single day. They make it work in their business, and they're going to share their tips, share their ideas, share their experiences so that it can help you too. Now, today I'm really excited to be catching up again with somebody I met for the first time back in June 2017 when we were both speaking at a tourism conference in India, an absolutely fantastic event. And I'm delighted to welcome Lauren Cleland, who is social media manager and digital content strategist for Visit Savannah. That's in Georgia, isn't it, Lauren?
It sure is, Philip. It's on the southeastern corner of Georgia.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about it, because looking at your work on the internet, it looks like the most amazingly pretty place.
And none of that is fabricated. It's a really great and easy product to sell, dare I say. Savannah is a city steeped in history, steeped in Southern hospitality, gentility. It is like walking through a fairy tale. We have cobblestone streets. We have live oak trees draped in Spanish moss. We are built on a grid system, so we have 22 unique squares that are just mini parks. And of course, probably the best thing is there is no open container law in Savannah, so you can order your drink to go and just stroll through the streets and just have the best day ever.
That sounds absolutely idyllic. And I have to say, looking at the videos on YouTube and from listening to you talking about it, it looks amazing. You strike me as someone who just loves their work. I just got to embarrass you just for a moment. I just want to go through some of the things that have been said about you. Somebody described you as a force to be reckoned with in the tourism marketing world. That's incredible. One of the top women in travel by the Women in Travel and Tourism International Awards. You've got a rising star and nominated for Top Woman in Travel. You're one of the top 20 most influential tourism professionals on Twitter. I think that's 16th and the 100th most influential tourism professionals. You're on the Destinations International Top 30 Under 30. You've won a Social Media Today Mover and Shaker Award, and you got the Best Use of Pinterest Social Media in Travel and Tourism Awards. Just talk me through all that. How did you get started? Why does it excite you all so much?
Oh, I just paid a bunch of people for those awards.
Fair enough. That's all we need to say.
Just kidding. So in college, I had a wonderful internship for a local hotel. I went to the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia, and my internship at the Hotel Indigo there led to my first full-time job, which gave me my foray into tourism. That role led to me taking over the social media strategy for Explore Georgia. So I represented the entire state of Georgia for about 3 years. And then Savannah called and I thought, yeah, I'll move down there. I'll move to the beach. Sounds great.
Yeah.
And I think the key is just I have a true passion for what I do and for what I sell. And the awards have just been the icing on the cake. I believe in what I do. I believe in the people I work with and the people I work for. Tourism supports economic development in communities. It puts food on the table. So I just try to work smart and hard, and if an award comes, cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, how much creativity do you need to bring to the party? I mean, it is an amazing destination in itself, which, some might argue it sells itself. But what do you kind of bring to the party?
Absolutely. I try to always be thinking of new ways to share our product. We're a city that was built in 1733. We're pretty old. We're not old by Europe or Asia standards, but for the U.S., we're pretty old. So we've been around for a long time, and people may have an idea in their head of what Savannah looks like. And so it's my job and my team's job to always be showing Savannah in a new light, whether that's through a new content creation mechanism or whether it's by finding the hidden gem within the city. We're just always thinking of new ways to take the next step. We never want to be complacent or standing in one place. And I think that's what I bring to the table, is that desire to always be pushing forward.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, I would imagine you have different seasons, which you presumably plan ahead for. And, a lot of people say, well, great use of social media is to plan stuff ahead and well in advance. There's some great tools to help you do that. But with a destination like Savannah, to what extent can you do stuff kind of on the hoof? Something happens today and you can do something to take advantage of that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we do plan ahead. We do sit together and have an annual planning calendar that's both with the digital content team and our PR team. So we're always aligned with each other. What are they pitching to publications? And we do an annual meeting that touches on themes within each season. And then we have monthly calendars as well, where we set up our plans. But we are always ready to kind of flip the switch and totally turn things on its head and throw the calendar out the door if sometimes we're famous for the Savannah River and the giant cargo ships that come by. And a couple weeks, or I guess a month or so ago, the largest cargo ship that has ever been in Savannah or on the eastern seaboard came through. So we threw out what was on the calendar for the day, ran down to the river with our tripod and our handy dandy iPhone and did a Facebook Live. So we like to plan ahead. That planning leads to success, but we're also not afraid to throw the calendar out if a really compelling, spontaneous moment arises.
And you mentioned the tripod there. In terms of the hardware and the tech tools that you use, I would imagine drones have. I guess you've got a drone in the trunk of your car, have you?
We do have a drone, not in the trunk. It's too expensive to stick in my very dirty trunk that is full of beach gear. But we do have a drone here in the office, and we utilize it to go above the canopies of treetops and to go above our beach. So we do love the drone, and we love our GoPro as well.
I would imagine that drones have just brought in a whole new dimension to social media.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone has seen something before.
Yeah.
In this world of increased media exposure, everyone has seen everything. So when you take a drone and give them a perspective that is not available to everyone, it just blows people's minds. So to give them a piece of content that they couldn't have experienced any other way, drones have just been so invaluable for that.
I saw only this morning on our TV news, they were talking about how some of the beaches in Australia, some parts of Australia, fear of sharks causes a bit of a dent in some tourism places, but the lifeguards are now using drones to fly over the sea and over the beach, and they've got technology that can recognize the difference between a surfer and a shark and maybe a dolphin or something like that, and so they can warn people to leave or exit the water quickly. So amazing technology, really powerful. And I imagine we've only really just got started in terms of how we use it for content marketing as well.
Oh, absolutely. That's amazing. I never want to be the person who's accidentally mistaken for a shark, though.
Quite so.
That
Now, as I mentioned earlier, we met at this amazing conference down in Kerala in southern India earlier this year, which was for tourism professionals all over India. And I'd been to it before. And in the past, social media really wasn't a particularly big deal, but this year it completely dominated the agenda.
It did.
What do you think? What do you take away from meeting with tourism professionals in India that you could maybe apply to your work in Savannah?
Absolutely, that's a great question. Tourism marketers worldwide are no different, and I think that was the biggest lesson for me. In tourism specifically, we are storytellers. Content is the story. We're the storytellers. And then social media is simply the tool in which we distribute those stories. And that seems to be a universal concept in Kerala, in Savannah. We're all just trying to share our communities in a very compelling way. And social media just seems to be the best place to do it because worldwide, social media is ubiquitous. Everyone wants to be a part of it. Everyone wants to catch up with their friends and keep up with the Joneses. And so social media is just a tool that seems to be universal.
Yeah, storytelling seems to be the big theme. And in this podcast, one of the things what I'm trying to do is to talk to people like yourself who have expertise in the use of social media and content marketing in one particular industry, and then see how that can be applied to other industries and professions as well. Just tell me how you tend to use storytelling, because that always seems to be at the heart of great social media in any industry. Can you give me any examples of how you use that yourself?
Absolutely. So instead of just telling you to come to Savannah, eat, sleep, and dine here, I want to show you the hotelier. I want to tell you the story behind the woman who built Azalea Inn and Gardens. I want you to know the dogs that greet you at the door when you check in at her inn. She has an amazing story, just like every restaurateur here has a great story, every bartender, every person who works at the retail store. So instead of just telling you to come, I want to give you the true reason to come, and then I want to give you the heart of our city, which are the people within each business. So storytelling allows us to do that, and we do that through editorial features, we do that through video features, we do it through still imagery. Depending on the story, we decide which medium to share it.
That's really interesting. There's one particular restaurant that I see you guys have been highlighting recently, which looks like somebody's home. And all I can see is plates and bowls of food everywhere. Just tell me about that one, and what's the story that's being told there, and what's the social media mechanism that you're using to get that out?
Absolutely. So you were referring to Mrs. Wilkes' dining room, which is amazing. It was a boarding house, so it actually was someone's home, and now it is an amazing family-owned restaurant. They've owned it since 1943, and this restaurant serves amazing lunches. So you wait in a long line out front, and then you are ushered inside, and you're seated at a table with about 8 other complete strangers. The food is already on the table, just bowls of okra and cream corn and fried chicken and mashed potatoes. I mean, any amazing Southern delicacy you can imagine is seated in front of you, and you pass the bowls around the table, and you make new friends with people from around the world. So it's amazing in and of itself, and we just try to bring the right tools to the table to make sure that we can tell the story in a unique and compelling way. So we bring our iPhones. We live and breathe by our iPhones, especially the iPhone 7 Plus. The camera on there is amazing. We can't wait to see what the 8 and the X look like. But so we bring our phones and we take GIFs, we take photos. We recently did a how-to video series, and one of our how-to videos was how to experience Mrs. Wilkes. So it takes you through the steps to having the best Mrs. Wilkes experience. So really, we just try to capture as many moments as possible, and then let what we capture dictate the story.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I have to say, it's an incredibly powerful set of visuals that you guys have been using for that, and it works an absolute treat. Now, we're kind of recording this, and this is going to go out in prime Halloween season. Halloween season in the UK seems to start in January and carries on for most of the year, as far as I can make out. So I just want to play this just quickly. Sorry, I couldn't really resist that. And I just have to play that and tell me what social media and content campaign I might be referring to in your part of the world.
I feel like you might be referring to our Savannah Hauntings video series, our social video series. Yeah. So your guests may or your listeners may or may not know, Savannah is America's most haunted city. We are a city built on our spirits. We have just as many otherworldly spirits as we do spirits to pour into a glass. They are mischievous. They like to get into trouble. And they're a big selling point for us, our spirits are. So we wanted to elevate those compelling ghost stories that we have throughout the city in a video series called Savannah Hauntings. It is very moody. You can see this on YouTube. There's a whole playlist devoted to it. It's very moody. It's all black and white. There's this wonderful narrator who speaks all in reverse, telling the story of Savannah's most famous ghosts. So we have 8 videos total, so 8 stories of hundreds here in the city. So they're a perfect way to kind of scratch the surface of our mini ghost stories.
It's superb, and I think the production values are awesome as well. I know many people say one of the great things about social media is the production values don't have to be particularly high, and it's more about the content and the story that's being told. But you guys work quite hard on your production values, don't you?
Absolutely. We try to have a wide variety. So we have video and photos that are the ultimate professional. They look and feel extremely professional, but then we also elevate UGC, user-generated content, which is more authentic. And then we also, we use a GoPro, we use iPhone photography, we use iPhone videography. Our audience really responds to all of the above, but especially the authentic content. It helps us maintain our brand integrity, and they trust us even more, which is key.
Now, I mean, Halloween, that time of year, it's just made for social media and content and storytelling. Do you build that into your planning as well? Because, as I said, there are other seasons as well that you plan for. And how do you think other businesses could do that? I mean, let's take something perhaps and arguably not quite as glamorous as a destination in Georgia. I don't know, maybe accountancy or law. How could they use the seasons perhaps as part of how they use social media?
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, we do meet annually and lay out themes for the year. And I think any business would be smart to do that. And they could start identifying ways in January that they could pull their work and make their work relevant to the current season's themes. I don't know, maybe your accountant himself, an accountant and a lawyer needs to sell themselves as a person first to show that they have a human element. So it could be as simple as an accountant sharing a Halloween photo of his family just to show I'm a real person. I care about my family. I have family values. And that could lead to more conversions. More people could see him and go, he's a real guy. He's a family man like me. I want to do my business with him. It could be as simple as that.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, that's been really interesting to hear about how you and your work at Savannah. Now, a lot of people listening to this are, they're big fans of social media. They really believe in it. But many tell me that it never really realizes its full potential for them. They have it goes in fits and starts and the occasional moderate success. But they still cling on to strong belief that social media can be the big breakthrough in promoting whatever product or service that they're offering. It's almost as though something is missing. It's like a piece of the jigsaw wasn't in the box. What sort of advice would you have for people like that who really believe in social media, but just it isn't quite clicking yet?
Right. The biggest piece of advice I would have is to stay steadfast and have a schedule. Stay regular, make sure that things are coming out ideally daily. If you have something worth saying daily, say it. Your fans are in an oversaturated market. They follow millions of people and they want to hear from you by clicking like. They've said, I want to hear from you. So give them content, give them a chance to hear from you. It's slow going. So just don't get discouraged. That's a big thing as well. They just need to stay focused, stay steadfast, keep your eyes on the goal, and just, it will happen. It will work out. And of course, I have to mention that organic reach is definitely becoming harder and harder to come by. So paid opportunities are extremely beneficial. We've seen great success with hyper-targeted ads to people we know that we're specifically wanting to reach with certain campaigns. So I wouldn't cross that out either. It's very cost-effective.
And do you still combine that with more traditional forms of marketing? I know the answer is probably yes, but to what extent are you using email marketing?
Oh, yes. Email marketing is a huge tool for us. I actually oversee that effort for Visit Savannah as well as Visit Tybee, our beach destination. And we send out a monthly email that is basically a content archive. So whatever performed best the month before or that has to do with the upcoming season, we load into this email, and it becomes kind of a Savannah or Tybee Island digest. And it's hard on the destination side to track conversions in the same way that, say, an e-commerce site would have. But we do have tools in place. We use certain tools like Arrivalist and Adara, and these are pixel-based softwares. So we place pixels within our email, and then if a person who looked at the email on their phone or a tablet, then that tablet shows up in Savannah, whether it's 2 years later or 2 days later, that tracks as an arrival. And so we get to say that was a conversion, and email has the highest arrival rate of all of our mediums outside of SEM.
That's really interesting, because I think in the world of social media, there is a tendency and a temptation to get quite excited by the latest app or the latest bit of software that's out there. There's something new for us to play with coming out almost every single day. To what extent do you get involved with just experimenting with stuff and seeing how it goes? Strategy is all important, but again, to what extent can you just have a play and see what works?
Well, I am very fortunate to have wonderful leadership that really encourages experimentation. So if there's a new tool, my team and I jump on it. We like to try new things. We'll experiment as ourselves. My amazing team, Jess and Larissa, they actually created a wonderful tool not a tool. They created an Instagram account specifically for experimentation with new content types and tools, just to kind of, when they want to test things out, they can test on the specific Instagram account that they created. So we are always experimenting.
Yeah, and is there anything?
We're not afraid to move
Is there
forward.
anything completely new that you're playing around with at the moment, that just out of curiosity?
Yeah, we love our new content aggregation tool that's called Crowdriff. It's really big in the travel space. I'm not sure if it has much of a presence elsewhere, but in an arena like ours where UGC or user-generated content is so important, Crowdriff allows us to really get a grasp and more easily sort through what's being shared with our hashtag or with relevant hashtags within our destination. We can search even down to location. If we want to see what people are saying at Mrs. Wilkes' house, we can search by that location and pull that way. We create galleries that then go to our website, our relevant landing pages. So that's probably my favorite newer tool for us.
So what about the future? Where do you see this whole social media thing developing over the coming, you pick any time period, it's impossible to know, but what sort of developments do you see?
Well, I mean, we saw, I think it was just last week, Mark Zuckerberg premiered Facebook Places, and I know it didn't go very well, but it seems VR and AR are things that we can't push aside anymore. It's coming, and as marketers, we either need to embrace it or get left behind. So VR seems to be one of the next big things. I think people keep talking about social media like it's new, but it's been around for more than a decade. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to keep evolving, and it's only going to become a bigger presence in everyone's daily lives. So if you're not already embracing it, you really should, because it's not leaving. So that's probably the big thing. It's got major staying power.
One of the things we like to do as part of this show is just to touch on what's going on in the news in the world when it comes to social media. And as we record this, the whole Harvey Weinstein story is all over. Well, it's all over everything, all over the world. And the Me Too hashtag is literally dominating social media wherever you look. Now, we see a lot of talk about hate and abuse on social media and how it needs to be stamped out. But to some extent, the Me Too hashtag, it almost looks like social media is being used as a vehicle for education about sexual abuse. And I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Social media is an avenue for change. It absolutely is. It gives the people a voice. And sometimes that means negative comments come through, but what a wonderful tool that wasn't there in some of the darkest moments of history, right? So now someone who maybe thought they could never be heard can be heard, and their voice can be a part of making a change. The Me Too is just one of many examples of people banding together and finding unity in a dark place and finding strength out of suffering. I think that's beautiful.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Okay, so just looking forward then, what we'd like to do is to give our listeners some kind of action steps, maybe something they'd not thought about before, maybe a challenge, a social media or a content challenge that they could get stuck into, and hopefully they could see some results on that. What sort of challenge or action steps would you like to give our listeners, Lauren?
Right. My go-to challenge, my one big rule that I think everyone should strive to adhere to is the rule of 5. And what I mean by that is for every piece of new content you create, you need to come up with a minimum of at least 5 unique ways to share that content. Every piece of content takes a lot of time and effort to create. And that's just one of our many jobs out there, especially for your listeners who are accountants and lawyers and people of that nature who have a full-time job outside of just the creative space. Give each new piece of content a chance to succeed by giving it a new face every time. Don't just share it on Facebook, tweet it out with a new image, create a compelling title image and share it via Pinterest. There's just an unending list of ways to share that content in a new way. So I would say definitely adhere to the rule of 5.
Great idea. I'll certainly give that a try myself. Thank you very much. We're building a private Facebook group, and which I'll give out the address at the end. And we're hoping that listeners will kind of share their successes as they go. We're going to invite you to join the group, Lauren, and it'd be interesting to see what people are doing. So to start wrapping up then, we also like to ask for a book, a piece of music, or a CD, or a download, however you consume your vibes, your tunes, and also an app. So let's start with a book. What would you recommend at the moment?
I am voraciously reading The Tao of Pooh right now, and I am so obsessed with it. So it's, if you're not familiar with it, it's an introduction to the Eastern belief system of Taoism, and it uses Winnie the Pooh as the perfect embodiment of Taoism's principles.
I can imagine that was never thought of when Winnie the Pooh was written.
So it is really fantastic. I highly recommend it.
And a tune or a CD or a download?
Right. So I am a massive fan of the new album by Sean Kelly. It's called Time Bomb Baby. Sean Kelly is actually a local low country artist. So he's from the southeastern United States, and he was in a band called A Fragile Tomorrow. And I went to his CD release party last Saturday at this great grungy bar called The Wormhole in Savannah, and have had his album on repeat ever since. And you can find it on Spotify. It is so good.
Thank you very much indeed. And finally, an app. It doesn't have to be anything to do with social or content marketing, but which one are you using a lot at the moment?
So my team members actually got me hooked on this wonderful tool called Adobe Spark. So it does have to do with social and content, but I'm obsessed with those, so that's no surprise. It is the perfect tool for those of us like myself who have very little graphic design abilities. I wish I were a graphic designer. I am not, and I just need to own it and use a tool like Adobe Spark, because it allows you to create amazing visuals with very little skill. So it's great.
I think I'd heard of it, but I've certainly not looked at it. So that's one I should be doing as soon as we finish today. Absolutely brilliant. Lauren, you've been a star. Some really great insights into what you do and how you work and how you get the message out there for your destination. So thank you so much for that. So where can people find you, connect with you, like you, share you? Where could they find you?
Right. Well, thank you for having me. It's been such a blast. You can follow me personally at Witty Clever Name on Twitter or Instagram. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as Lauren Cleland. But even more importantly, I encourage you to follow my brands, which are Visit Savannah, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, and also Visit Tybee, which is our sister organization and our beach destination, and that is TYBEE. So Visit Savannah, Visit Tybee, and Witty Clever Name if you want to see my adventures as a total nerdy girl.
And Little Bird tells me you're a bit of a performer as well. Is that right?
Just a little bit. I'm just a bit of a ham.
Well, I have to say, out of all the destinations around the world, you really rock yours. You make it look so compelling, and I can't wait to come and visit you and to try some of that wonderful food out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'll have a to-go cup ready for you.
Well, that's it for today, everybody. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you listening. And once again, a huge thank you to my warrior guest this week, Lauren Cleland. Most importantly, I'd love you to join our social media warrior community. It's a private membership group on Facebook where you'll be able to meet and network with our listeners. You'll be able to ask questions, share ideas, and generally help and support each other. Please do join the waiting list. Just go to www.philipcalvert.com/social media warriors. I'm going to put that in the show notes, but please do go visit. Thanks again, and see you all next time.
You've been listening to The Social Media Show with Philip Calvert. For more great tips and resources, follow Philip on Twitter @PhilipCalvert. And if you'd like to book Philip to speak at and rock your conference or event, contact him by email, philip@philipcalvert.com. Thanks for listening.